Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a great show for you today. First, we check in with my guy, Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano, talking about all things politics. And folks, there's so many things that are happening. How about the fact that, President Trump announcing his bid to run for president? Nancy Pelosi has decided to step down after 20 years of service as the House Speaker. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the fact that Congresswoman Karen Bass has officially won the mayoral seat for the city of Los Angeles and the impact of that. So we got so much to talk about there. Also, we're going to be checking in with the mayor of Elm City, New Jersey, as they mayors across the country are convening for the National League of Cities City Summit to talk about what is the next step for progress in the cities around the country. So we're going to have that conversation and a whole lot more. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of the conversations. And folks, we got a lot to talk about, so I want to jump right in as we check in, as we do every Thursday for our chat about politics with Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano himself. Who is the founder and owner of DMV Daily Media Group, to bring us up to speed and provide some analysis around some of the big political stories happening today and over the past couple of days. So let's check in with my brother, Hassan. Hassan, good to hear from you and see you again, bro. How are you, sir?
Always a pleasure, brother Farajii. How you feeling, man?
Oh, man, I'm good, man. I'm still high from the last conversation that we had, man. Now it looks like the conversation around Stacey Abrams and everything else has changed around the country.
Yeah, boy. That last program was fire. That's why everybody kept hitting me up. Boy, I done got so many friend requests on Facebook and Instagram from followers of yours. I said, oh, okay. Yeah. So that definitely was a good program. And like you said, the conversation has certainly changed across the country from Stacey Abrams, who was once the queen of the Democratic Party in many aspects, who many people now have started to kind of see the cracks within her leadership, at least in Georgia. I'm not talking about across the country, but at least in Georgia. And you're starting to see, new leadership emerge across the country. Black women, a black man who should be the next Speaker of the House. So there's a lot to come over the next coming weeks and months.
And it's interesting, Hassan, because we literally just had a conversation yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, today is Thursday. So it was on Tuesday. We had a conversation with another Culture Crew member, and we were talking about the number of Black women that were on the ballot for this election cycle. Over 130 Black women were on the ballot across the country, and a lot of them actually won seats. But these are seats like, the Secretary of State, or they might be the state's attorney, or, smaller seats. But it still shows that more Black women have gotten involved, I think, in this cycle and getting involved in participatory politics this year than I think we've probably seen in a very long time. I might be wrong in my assessment, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it really that movement started under the Obama administration, and his challenge to people to get involved in the process more than just voting. And so, I know plenty of elected officials now currently serving who ran, in the past 4 to 8 years, who said, I took the challenge that President Obama laid down when he was in office to, get up and do something in my community. And so you're starting to see that emergence. You have a group called Emerge, which is one of the organizations who support and train women to get involved in the political process. They've been around for 20, 30 years, but you never saw, you're right. I mean, look, think about this. When Nancy Pelosi first came into office in 1987, there were a dozen women who served in the Democratic caucus, 12, including her. Now, as she steps away as Speaker of the House, there are 90 women that served in the Democratic caucus in Congress. So that's a huge change since when she came into where she's at today. I think you're only going to see that continue to rise. I think we're going to finally see our first female president of the United States that you and I will live, I would think, and I would hope and pray we will see in our lifetime. I don't think it's coming in the next 2 years, but I think within the next 10, the next 2 cycles, I do think that we'll see a first female president of the United States. And so you're going to start to see that across the board, Farajii. African-American men and women taking on their rightful positions in leadership from those low-level Speaker of the House and Senate in state elections, right, as well as all the way up to the White House.
Bro, that's a big one. I you know what? I didn't think about that. Like, you're right with Nancy Pelosi. I mean, 12 to 90, that's a huge jump. And I bet you, Hassan, what's the racial makeup of 90? Are we seeing more Black women, more Latinos, or more white women? What's generally been the makeup for that?
Well, white women continue to dominate the number who run, and I think who are elected, but you're starting to see a swift climb in African-American and Latino women, and even Asian women, right? You're starting to see more of an influx as it pertains to women in general. White, again, still dominates in terms of the numbers who are elected. I'm not saying who run. I haven't really looked at the numbers of how many have actually ran, but who have actually won. White women continue to hold it, and then it's African Americans, and right behind them, Latino women. So you're starting to see that force, and depending on where you're at, I know we're going to talk about it later on, Karen Bass, right? Prime example, former Congresswoman, now the next mayor-elect for LA. Trust and believe. We just talked about this a couple weeks ago in the show about the Latino dominance over there, and you find us hearing what they really think about us coming out. Guess what? They're gonna regret saying some of those things when Bass is in there, because Karen Bass is not no punk, and she means business, especially when it comes to her people. So you can, they can talk that racial crap if they want to when she's as mayor, but she's not gonna have that. But everywhere across the country, you see that those blocks of voters who are rising up, who are saying, you know what, it's about time. We've allowed this white dominance for far too long in our political system. Now we have blocks of votes that we need, and we're gonna mobilize them and activate them like we saw Stacey Abrams and others do, in order to make sure that we hold the seats of power.
Absolutely. So let's go back to Nancy Pelosi. The fact that she's decided to step down. I mean, she did 20 years in public service on the congressional level. She was Speaker of the House. Of course, she also represented and served the District 11 out here in California. She won her election. I mean, there was really no election. When you look at the numbers, with nearly 100% of the polls reporting, 83.9% of the votes to Nancy Pelosi over her Republican opposition, John Dennis, 83.9%. So folks in her district are obviously happy with the service that she had. But even more so, the decision to step down, and I was reading reports, and you might have read something differently, Hassan, was simply because, well, not simply, but part of it was what happened to her husband, Paul, in that recent attack. And, Nancy Pelosi is a woman. She is 82 years old. And to be in a situation like that with her husband being attacked, seeing how the partisan divide has led to this person coming into her home, it has to be a scary situation. And I know that played a huge role in her making the decision to step away. What do we take from her leadership, her time in Congress, her and considering this recent situation with this attack? What do we take from this about Nancy Pelosi and how she's going to be viewed in political and U.S. history?
Well, let's make no mistake about it. Nancy Pelosi is the Tom Brady of Congress. She is the GOAT without a doubt, right? There's only been one other person who's been elected speaker more than once, twice, and that's Sam Rayburn. Sam Rayburn, his name is on the buildings of Congress, right? And the House building is named after Rayburn. It's the Rayburn Belt. So Nancy Pelosi's name will be on buildings in the next 20, 30, 40 years, right? That's just how powerful of a person she are. She's the longest serving Democratic leader in history, the first female speaker of the House. I mean, there's not really much more you have to say. Like she did it. She did what, and it's ironic because when she first stepped onto the floor of Congress, Farajii, and I'm not talking about 1987, I'm talking about when she was 6 years old, because her father was a congressman, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr. That was her father. He was a former mayor of the city of Baltimore as well. He was a congressman, brought her onto the floor when she was 6, and she knew then that she wanted to serve in Congress. Now, she'll tell you to today, she would have never thought that she would have been the first female speaker of the House or even a speaker at all. But Nancy Pelosi is very strategic and tactical in everything she does. She comes from a political family. Again, her father was mayor of Baltimore, congressman. Her brother was mayor of Baltimore. Like, her whole family served in politics. But she has risen to levels that they can only imagine had they been alive. God rest their souls. So she's done what her family has groomed her to do. I think in her terms of her decision to step away from the seats of power, it just shows how masterful she is, because here's a woman who I hope others can learn from, especially in Congress, on both sides of the aisle, who not only steps away from the seat of power, which we never see, but most people who would do that would retire. She's not retiring her seat. She's still going to serve in Congress. And she's going to play an influential role in whoever the next Speaker of the House is. But for her to give up that power of leadership and still serve and be humble enough to serve as a soldier instead of the lieutenant, right, just shows how powerful she is. And not only that, if you watch what's happening right now, not only did she just say that she's not running for political office, but the majority leader, Steny Hoyer, congressman from right here in Maryland, is not running. Jim Clyburn is not running. And all of them have, in sense, endorsed the next Speaker of the House, which will be Hakeem Jeffries from New York, right? And so they, in one swoop, she just ushered in an entirely new, young political generation of leaders just by this announcement, because she didn't just do it haphazardly. I would hasten to say that I think while her husband's attack certainly weighed on her soul, I think she was planning this for some time. I remember a few years ago, she said, it's about time. It's about 2 years ago that I'm ready to give up the gavel. Now, I think she thought she was going to still be speaker. Democrats will still control the chamber. But nonetheless, I think this was strategic in her. And not only that, the next person who would have challenged Hakeem for the speaker, Adam Schiff, congressman from California, her home state, all of a sudden has decided that he's going to run for Senate, all right, over in California, decided he's not going to run for speaker. I guarantee Nancy Pelosi has something to do with that. So that just shows, like, she didn't just, oh, okay, I'm done, I'm going to retire, and I'm going to leave it up to y'all. She strategically took these steps to make sure that we have the next African-American Speaker of the House, that we have a new, young, hungry generation of leaders ready to take the mantle, and that nobody else got in the way of that, including her or anybody on her leadership team. So it just shows, not only just her grace, but also her mastery in doing what she does.
What do you think is going to be her legacy in terms of her relationship with marginalized communities, such as Black people, Latinos, and other marginalized communities? Do you think that she, even though she's blazing the trail for Hakeem Jeffries, do you think that she's going to be well regarded in history by those other communities, by us and other communities?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. I mean, anybody who knows Nancy Pelosi knows that she's never been one with an ounce of racism that you can see, right? I don't never take anything away from anybody, right? I've seen some of the most down white people call you a nigga in a heartbeat, right? When they get mad and things like that. Sometimes it's embedded in them. But knowing Nancy Pelosi, as I've known her and other people will testify to, it's just not who she is. And she's always made it a point in the case of making the argument of trying to help leader. Look, there would not be a President Obama had it not been a Nancy Pelosi. She behind the scenes helped, along with Clyburn, but a lot with Nancy and a lot of places across the country, helped lay the path for Obama to become president. Remember, he wasn't the only one in the Democratic Party running at that time. And he was really a surprise to many. She was one of the first people on board with that whole Obama era, right? If it was not for Nancy Pelosi, there would not be an Affordable Care Act. There would not be a Climate Control Act. There would not be an Infrastructure Act had it not been for her. She has helped shepherd through some of the most pivotal pieces of legislation of our lifetime. So I think in many circles, she will be adored. Now, the only circles I think she won't be is, of course, the Republican circles. We've already seen Kevin McCarthy, being classless as he is. His statement the other day was, yeah, we finally fired Nancy Pelosi. No, you didn't. I mean, if that's what you call firing Nancy Pelosi, well, God bless you. Y'all barely won a majority as it is. But, that's just the classlessness of Republicans. And Nancy Pelosi has been for the past 15 years the target of Republicans. Every commercial that they run, from the Tea Party commercials, if you remember, all the way to now, is Nancy Pelosi. We got to get ready to, and that just shows how powerful she really was, that she's become, enemy number one in the Republicans' mind. So I think in all other circles outside the GOP, she will be highly adored, and rightfully so, because she has made it her mission since being in Congress, and even before that, to help communities, marginalized communities, as well as other communities, make sure that they are empowered.
Well, folks, there's a lot of history being made, and not just from Nancy Pelosi, but as you hear Hassan talking about Hakeem Jeffries, 52 years old. And if he's able to get the seat as being the House Speaker, he would be the first Black person to become House Speaker. Woo, that's huge.
Well, he'd be the first Black person to lead any party leadership. Majority leader, minority speaker of either party in either chamber.
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro. That is crazy. All right, so let's get some comments from our online culture crew, because folks are checking in, want to share their thoughts about Nancy Pelosi stepping down. Folks, we'd love to hear you. Post your comments in our Facebook and in our YouTube chat. But Janae, you said, quote, "We applaud Pelosi, who has stayed committed to politics. While being a mother of 6, she has heart and served well. No one should have their family attacked like that. Bravo." Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Janae. Janelle, you checked in and said, "And the old guard will stand by to assist new leadership. This is what succession looks like, even if it is 10 to 20 years late." Yeah, how does that work, Hassan? 10 to 20 years late, I think Janelle makes a great point. We talk about passing the torch often, but I don't think we often talk about what that looks like, or even more importantly, the timeline in which that happens. So how does that work, bro?
See, and this is where I have issues with certain things. We just had this argument in Baltimore because we had a charter amendment that went on the ballot that they ended up voting for that instituted term limits across the board for mayor, city council president, and city council. And the term limits were 2 terms, right? And so the argument is, oh, it's time to pass the baton. And so, maybe for mayor, that might be fine. But in situations like this is not an elected role, right? In terms of the people. This is elected amongst their colleagues. And many a times we need that seniority. There's Hakeem Jeffries and whoever comes in on the leadership is going to need it. And that's why I applaud Nancy so much for sticking around, because they're going to need her counsel. They're going to need the counsel of the Steny Hoyer, because the leadership role in any chamber, whether it's Congress, whether it's your legislative chambers in your states or your local chambers, you need people who understand the rules and the procedures of how things are done and how you go. This parliamentary procedure is not something we grow up on. It's not something that's easily learned. And you need people who can do that, especially when you have an opposition party that is looking to take you down in the policies and the values that you're looking to champion at every corner, right? So you need people to be able to thwart that. We saw the Republicans do it. They jumped up and down and made sure that President Obama could not appoint a Supreme Court justice for 8 months. Never been done, unprecedented, right? But we need people to be able to understand, how do we play the game along with them to make sure we can get things done in the values and principles and for the American people. So in some degree, I agree, right? We as people need to start electing people and stop keep putting the same people in over and over. To me, term limits are called elections. That's why we have them every 2 or 4, right? Vote their ass out if you don't like them, but don't put a time limit on it because you can't get your way and you want some new people in it. And you don't want the people in it, go and vote, you know. But in that case, in terms of speaker and all that intra-party type of things, I think it was well served. And, you know, whether you say it's 10 or 20 years too late, I think she's done a masterful job as speaker over that 20-year period of time.
Absolutely. Gary, you said Pelosi, but I just wish y'all could have passed reparations for past injustices. Well, that may get further along because Hakeem Jeffries is, I mean, he's well, you know, qualified to have the conversation about reparations. But what's your take on that, Hassan?
Ain't never gonna happen. Not your lifetime, not my lifetime. Ain't never.
Damn, bro.
The conversation may happen, right? I think Hakeem will push the envelope to a point that you'll see maybe a bill introduced and it go to a committee and the conversation happen, but it ain't never gonna happen. I'm telling you, it's just not. It's never going to happen. I don't even think in the lifetime after our lifetimes, right? Now I may be wrong, and I look, I hope I am. This is what I hope I am wrong on, but no, because you think about it, even though we're making strides in becoming, think about this. We're just talking about only 90 women in the congressional delegation. There's even less of that on the African American. So we still hold a very small leadership role across the board. These Republicans and these white Democrats who represent constituencies that don't look like you and I, who don't want reparations, they don't want to spend their quote unquote hard-earned tax dollars on paying back black people who were brought to this country on slave ships. They don't want to do that because it doesn't affect them. And it's going to be hard pressed for us to force them to vote on something as controversial. It really shouldn't be as reparations.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Juwan, you checked in and said, look, Speaker Pelosi said in her speech she enjoyed working under 3 administrations. She actually worked under 4. Queen of Shade. And I love it. I know who she, I wonder who she omitted from that list.
Well, who she omitted from that.
She from Baltimore. What y'all expect? If nothing else, we know how to get petty.
But that's what I love about Nancy. She's the queen of petty. She come from Baltimore, baby. She know how to throw that shade. Come on now.
We know how to get petty, son. Let me tell you, it must be something in the water, Hassan. You and I know this for sure. All women in power in politics in Baltimore, queen of petty, bro.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about Sheila Dixon, Stephanie Rawlins Blake, Catherine Pugh, you talk
Marilyn
about any of those.
Marilyn Mosby. Don't forget that,
bro. Wait. There's Queen of Petty, and then there's Marilyn Mosby. Marilyn Mosby will throw some shade and the sink, and
she's on a whole nother level.
She wears it all on her face and her sleeve, bro. I mean, that's how it is. And you know what? It's funny because that's the type of politics that I'm used to. I'm used to politicians where they get in a room full of reporters, and I've seen Sheila Dixon do this. I've seen Catherine Pugh do this. They get a room full of reporters, and a reporter might ask them, "Well, why did you do that? And what was the thought process behind this decision?" And they just simply, because I felt like doing. Next question. And you know what I mean? It's just like it's like it's like there's no, oh, I'm gonna be political about myself. It's like, no, this is what I felt like doing. It was total.
Remember the thing that made Sheila Dixon who she was, for the viewers who may not be from Baltimore, don't know this, when she was a councilwoman and she became council president and she served over top of the council, she took her high heel shoe off and banged it as a gavel. And when they asked her about it, she said, yeah, how do you like it now when the shoe is on the other foot? Now that a black woman is in charge. And that shut she became folk legend in this town when she did that, right? This was back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, right? So
in the 90s, right. Right, you're absolutely right. All right, let's get one more comment and then we got to take a quick pause. Maureen McFarland, you said she has done enough for this country. It's time to pass on to the next generation. Great leader. Yeah. And this is such a ending of an era, Hassan, and it's something to be able to watch how this situation goes. It just goes to show you that this country really, we're undergoing some major changes, bro. Like, we're really undergoing some major changes. And when we come back, I wanted to get your thoughts about, on the other side of the aisle, the dude Mitch, your favorite senator from Kentucky, you know what I'm saying? He's still trying to hold on to something, right? But I think that the way this country is moving is going to engulf him. He's not going to be able to handle what's coming down the pipe politically in this country. So we'll talk about Mitch McConnell. We'll talk about President Trump. And we got to talk about the new mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. Hey, yo, I got to break down some numbers for y'all. And I know Hassan probably know the numbers in terms of the money that was spent and how she was able to withstand the onslaught. Man, let me tell you something. It's a whole different day. There's a lot of people buzzing right now about Congresswoman Mayor-elect now, Karen Bass. So we'll have that conversation. Stay with us, folks. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture, and we'll be right back.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
hatred on the streets. A horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We check it in with my guy, Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano, owner and founder of DMV Daily Media Group. As we're talking politics, of course, on Thursdays, as we always do with my brother. And I want to jump right back into the conversation. Now, Hassan, we talked about Nancy Pelosi, but on the other side, a couple of things are happening. Of course, because of the midterms, you know, the Republicans are feeling the brunt of not creating the red wave that they were hoping to materialize. So that happened. But as a result, there's a lot of infighting I'm reading about. More so, there's a lot of blame. But GOP is still sticking there to their guns in terms of leadership. Mitch McConnell, the senator out of Kentucky, people have a lot of nicknames for this guy. But Mitch McConnell has been voted to be the Senate minority leader once again. And this is considering the fact that this is possibly going to be a very, very different session, even with the Republicans taking control of the House. So there's some real concern about that. So let's talk about that first, and then I want to talk about what's the implication of Donald Trump getting back into the running for president, announcing that. What is that going to have on this GOP now that we see how Trumpers didn't Trump as much as folks expected? So first, let's talk a little bit about the GOP, Mitch McConnell, and now he's got to deal with this. The Republicans having control on the House. People are saying that this will be a problem for President Biden to get his agenda across. That this might open up the door for a gridlock situation. Is that what you're saying as well?
Not for Mitch McConnell per se, but I do think just given the fact that, you know, Republicans now have control of the House. We don't know how much control, but they do have the 218 seats now. So there will be Speaker Kevin McCarthy come January, likely. Now, he won a vote in his closed door party session earlier this week. And he'll likely win that vote for Speaker as well, even though that Freedom Caucus over in the House is growing by the day. So it's going to be hard for him to really control the powers that they'll have now as the majority, given the fact that they're not going to have a huge majority. I think it may be between a 2 and a 4 seat majority, which is not much in a 435 member House. All right. And you only have, 220 to 222 likely seats compared to Democrats who will not have that much. So I think it's going to be a power struggle there within the, in regards to the Senate, though, Mitch McConnell has always had control of his chamber, regardless of how far right the Republicans are or how closer they are to Mitch McConnell. He understands how to run his guy. And this is somebody who is like a Pelosi. He's been there for a while. He understands the seats of power. He knows the tools better than anybody, so he knows how to use them better than most. And that's why I don't see too great of a challenge. Look, Rick Scott challenging him was, I mean, it was useless, right? Everybody knew that wasn't going to go anywhere. It was what, a 37-10 to 1 abstaining vote. Didn't even come close, right? It was pointless. It was him just basically saying, hey, I want to do something. That's all that was. Because what you have is somebody like Mitch McConnell, who, you know, regardless of us being very far different in our political ideology, I have a lot of respect for, because he is somebody, again, who respects the seat of power, understands it, and utilizes it to his advantage, as you're supposed to do. But he's also more closely aligned. He's the type of person who, even though he may not agree with what a damn thing Democrats want to do, he can see the common sense in things, and he'll let certain things go through that you would not see from a Freedom Caucus member, a person who is so far right and under the control of Trump, let's say, that they will do everything they can to burn the house, including burning the house down, before they let Democrats pass anything, including for the benefit of the American people, including their own constituents. Mitch McConnell's not like that. He's far different from that. That's why he remains in his seat of power. Plus, he understands, he reminds me of J. Edgar Hoover, right? He uses that power to his advantage. He has things on people. You never want to go to anybody when you're in power and come at them empty-handed and ask them for nothing. You always want to have leverage on them. And I'm telling you right now, Mitch McConnell knows where the bodies are buried on every member of his party. So he gets what he wants done because they know better, right?
Right.
He feels that. Kevin McCarthy.
Did we lose my brother? All right, we're going to get back into, we're going to try to reconnect with Hassan in a moment. Folks, as we're having this conversation, talking to Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano, share your thoughts with me. Post your comments in the chat on YouTube, Facebook, and hopefully you're also watching through our website at blackstarnetwork.com. But make sure you join us as we have this discussion about what's your take around Mitch McConnell. He's been reelected as the Senate GOP leader. He's going to be dealing with a different group of Republicans. New freshman class of Republican leadership is going to be coming in. You know, what do you foresee happening over this session? Share your thoughts with us, and we'll certainly hear what you want to say and post your thoughts. All right, we got my man Hassan back. There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I think it's going to be a large contrast of leadership with McConnell, who's not the majority leader. He will still be the minority leader because Democrats have control of the Senate, even without Georgia right now. With Georgia, if they win December 6th in Georgia in that runoff, then they'll have one more seat. Right now, it'll be a 50-50 split. And, you know, of course, as we've seen the past 2 years, Kamala Harris will be the deciding vote. So they control the Senate. So Mitch McConnell will only be the minority leader, whereas though Kevin McCarthy will be the speaker. But I think Mitch will get more done as the minority leader than Kevin will, Congressman McCarthy will, as the Speaker of the House. Now, look, we've already seen right now, just today breaking, is that Congress is saying, and two congressmen, Jim Jordan and the other, has already said that they're going to launch an investigation into the President of the United States, Joe Biden, based off of Hunter Biden's the investigation that's been going on with his son, Hunter Biden, and his relationship with overseas, the con money he was getting, things that I'm trying to say that the president knew full well everything that went on. So they're going to use the power that they now have in the House to make President Biden look as bad as possible over the next 2 years.
All right. So how does this all play? I mean, given that, because that's just a waste of time, resources, money, and all of that stuff, right? But now that Donald Trump is running, how does this play out? Because you still got DeSantis, who has a still strong, stronghold down in Florida. You still got some GOP members who are already Trumpers, but now you got the traditional versus the ultra conservative. I mean, you got a whole bunch of things happening. So talk to us about what does Donald Trump's announcement, how will that impact the direction and the overall effectiveness of the GOP?
So I can understand, because I know a lot of people were like, why the hell is he announcing like right after the election? Like, damn, he ain't gonna wait. And a part of that was a strategy to say, make sure everybody else is out of the room, right? Did this with Sheila Dixon for mayor. It's like, if you announce early, then all the other crazies that might have thought about getting in a race, now like, nah, I know I can't beat him, so I'm just gonna stay out of it. And so I think that was part of the thought process of him wanting to announce so early. What I saw the other night was, after 2 years of continuously repeating the false narrative of this big lie that Democrats cheated them out of the presidency, what you did not hear on Tuesday night was anything about the big lie. Not one time did Donald Trump say anything. Now, he's been saying it every time he speaks for 2 years. You did not hear one peep from that speech. And to me, that was the ultimate concession speech. We finally got a concession speech out of Donald Trump after 2 years after being defeated. And so I don't know if it was handlers who said, look, I advise you not to repeat that bull crap, or it was just him finally coming to terms with it. But at the end of the day, we did not hear about the big lie. We heard everything about what he wants to do. The problem is, Farajii, and I told you this before, and I'll say it again, even after that announcement, I personally believe that's going to be one of the last times we hear Donald Trump give a quote-unquote presidential speech. Because if we saw there, number one, a lot of major networks did not cover it. A lot of mega donors who are huge in the Republican Party, they're the ones who put millions and billions of dollars into these super PACs and into these campaigns, have said, we're not giving one red nickel to Donald Trump for nothing. And many of them blame Donald Trump for the Republican slaughter that they just got November 8th during the past election. Many of the Senate candidates who they could have really took Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, all these candidates were Trump candidates and they all lost to Democrats. So you see a lot of the party elite saying we're not messing with him. I think Donald Trump's going to realize that his time is long past and that he's better being the power broker outside of the halls of Washington, D.C., than actually being the insider. Remember, he came in as this outsider. I'm going to drain the swamp. And that's what really got all of these Republicans, these hardcore, who had never been a part of the political process, in love with him. And so I think that he's going to realize that's how he really affects change moving forward. That's how he continues to make himself relevant, because he will lose. I guarantee if he decides to actually run, he will not be the Republican nominee for president. I think Ron DeSantis will take every advantage of this anti and ride it all the way to the White House in 2024.
Hey, bro, I totally agree. And here's my thing, and maybe you can clear it up, because I was talking to my sister, Naomi Bleemer, yesterday out of Florida. She ran for an office, but she didn't get she wasn't able to clinch the victory. But her and I were going back and forth about this. And my point is, if his name is even allowed on the ballot, we should do some sort of resistance. What's your take on that? Like, should the fight be not allowing his name on the ballot, or should we focus on, okay, now that he's announced, we need to come up with some strategy on dealing with that? Because the latter is what the Biden administration is doing. They're not even questioning whether he should be on the ballot. They're questioning and getting prepared for his attacks on President Biden as a candidate and as a president. So what's your take on that, bro?
One of the greatest strategies I believe Democrats and the Democrat and the DCCC did during this past election, Farajii, was they put money behind some of those ultra-right conservative Trump people during the primaries to ensure that they win, because they felt that if we can make sure they win the primary, we know we can whip their ass in the general. But while these more mainstream Republican candidates that they were running against in the primary, if they win, we'll have a harder time beating them. Now, many people in the Democratic Party did not like the fact that they were putting money behind Republicans, right? They didn't like this strategy, but it worked. And I think you do that same strategy in 2024. You want to show the big bad boogeyman. You want Trump on the ballot as the Republican nominee, because guess what? that then makes sure that those who usually don't come out to vote, those who typically sit by on the sidelines, will show up in droves to make sure he does not return to the White House. That is the motivating factor that you have to drive Democrats and independents and the like to the polls in November 2024 by having a crazy like Donald Trump as the Republican nominee. If you have a more mainstream Republican, that independents and even Democrats may start to say, hey, what they're saying makes sense. I might go vote for them. You don't want that. Or even if they're not going to vote for them, they may say, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to show up to vote. My party got it. That's the last thing you need. You need somebody to be able to motivate your base, and the base that does not actually show up in most elections, motivate them to the polls. And so to me, the greater strategy is making sure he is on the ballot, making sure Ron DeSantis and all the craziness that we saw come out of Florida, make sure that is on the ballot, because you do not need a Mitch McConnell type on the ballot. Mitch McConnell isn't the worst Republican, right, that would serve in that type of capacity. He's the type that can show, well, I did vote for this, and I did, and that's not something that you can get a base, motivated behind. So in my estimation, you want Donald Trump and all his craziness for the next 2 years as if he is running.
Never thought about it. Never thought about it like that, bro. Didn't think about it like that. I was in my feelings. I went straight for Hassan. I went straight for the heart, bro. I was like, no, never thought about it, bro. I didn't think about that strategy. So I stand corrected. And to my culture crew, I stand corrected. No, it's a great. I understand it. The way you explained it, I understand why it was done. I was in my feelings yesterday, though. I'm not gonna lie. If you were on the show yesterday, you would have been like, Farajii, you need to calm your ass down, bro. You need to calm down. I was in my feelings, but I get what you're saying. Totally get it. All right, let's go. As we got a few moments left, Hassan, what's your take on what's happening out here in the sunny city of Los Angeles? Karen Bass, Congresswoman Karen Bass, now mayor-elect, she beat Rick Caruso by over 30,000 votes, right? Hotly contested battle. Some people say it was a battle about the soul of Los Angeles. This is the second largest city in the country. A lot of money comes through the city of Los Angeles. I heard her on an interview this morning, and she said that one of the big issues when it was brought up to her about, what can we expect in the first 100 days of her being in office, she said that what she found out was that the city of Los Angeles doesn't get the money that it needs to get from the feds, that they're not getting this type of support. So she did her research, and she said, now I'm gonna go after this money that we deserve, that we're supposed to be getting for one, so we could do some other things in the city. So what's your take on how she was able to pull out a victory, pull out a win, especially against, here's the big part, her opponent, Rick Caruso, put $100 million. Hassan, I swear, bro, I'm in the wrong business. I should be doing the type of work you do. A political strategist. $100 million, folks. And Karen Bass only had $9 million. Yeah. Rick Caruso put $100 million on the table to her $9 million, and she was able to pull it out. Wow. What's your take, bro?
Well, usually you don't see an 11-1 spending margin and somebody being able to defeat like that, right? I think, first of all, what you saw, there was a lot of different dynamics in this race. One is both of them were Democrat, and Caruso tried this old playbook trick. So he used to be a Republican until January of this year. Then he became a Democrat, right? And so Karen Bass, being a Democrat her entire life through Congress and as an activist and so forth, had a track record. And so, of course, that she had the entire Democratic establishment behind her. So I think that Caruso, even spending $100 million plus, he tried to run a race like Republican Richard Riordan back in '93. They did in LA. He was a centrist Republican following the first Black mayor of LA, Tom Bradley, who had served for 2 decades. he was now following that. And he basically made this pitch that, we have to return the city, even though he was a Republican, he was more centrist. So he was able to, be more moderate in his approach. But he spent a ton of money like Caruso did. And so I think Caruso's people were trying to follow that same strategy. Now, mind you, he was successful back in 93. Caruso was not. And it was a lot of different. Back then, a centrist Republican or a centrist Democrat was a good thing back then, right? In those times, we actually applauded those who worked across the aisle. That is not the case these days. It is now so polarized that if you're anywhere near the middle, that's like your death nail, right? You're supposed to be all the way to the left or all the way to the right. And I think you alienate those in the middle, including independents. And so Karen Bass did a masterful job of just who she was, right? She honed in on the issues. Homeless. LA has become one of the capitals of homelessness in the country, along with Seattle, Washington, right? You have a huge homeless problem. And so part of that problem, she's attacked that with policy papers that showed what she's going to do as mayor. Like you talked about, go after the federal dollars. This is how we're going to attack homelessness, crime, and so forth. Caruso didn't have that same strategy. I don't know who he was spending his money. I wish I knew and got a contract out of him. Like they was paying big. Oh my God. I'd have been out there vacationing with you right now if I got some. That was good money to go after. I ain't gonna lie to you. But look, she becomes the second Black to ever hold this position. Tom Bradley, of course, being the first, and the first woman to become mayor of LA. Now, the Board of Commissioners, the very powerful Board of Commissioners, some people call it the Board of Estimates, others call it the Board of Public Works. It's the spending board, which is usually white, male dominated, will now be served by all women. All 5 seats are women, right? You have 2 citywide women serving over there in LA, and I think up to 5 members on the council. So again, as we talked about in the beginning of this program, women are starting to dominate our political structures from the council level all the way up to Congress. And so, they're going to have to show and prove, of course, but I think it's a good thing. And I think they're going to show the country what they're about. And Karen Bass, again, I've always been impressed with Karen. Look, I'm an independent. I've never been a rah-rah, you're a Democrat, I believe in you. Hell with that shit. I ain't never believed in that crap. But if you impress me, you impress me. And Karen Bass always impressed me because she's come from that activist lifestyle. That's how she got into politics, right? She wasn't this homegrown politician. She came from the streets. So she understands, that's in her heart. That's who she is as a person. Yeah. And you'll see that reflective of who she is as an elected official, as a politician. And so I always like those who, made their start in the streets and activism, fighting for the people, because they know what it takes to do that. Instead of somebody who put into politics, never understood that life. So they're never going to do that as our elected officials, because that's just not who they are.
Real quick, Hassan, I mean, what does that mean for Black folks? And she said it this morning. She said she never forgets, she'll, never forget her roots coming from South LA. She says she's always kept that in mind. And that's really one of the reasons why she wanted to run is that she wanted to shift the whole paradigm of power, given the fact of the racial issues, the economic issues, and in terms of those who are experiencing homelessness. Do you think that this, by her being in the position she's in, that it's going to encourage more Black folks to stay Democratic? Especially, I feel like the Democratic Party needed this win in Los Angeles because there were so many Black folks that were questioning whether Democrats really cared about Black people, right? But with her being in the position now, do you think that that's kind of going to stop the flow of people leaving the party? And that more Black people might say, all right, let me stick around and see what Madam Mayor is going to do.
Hell no. I don't care less about that. I mean, if they're just, I'm telling you, if you just don't like the Democratic Party, that ain't going to help, right? Because the party didn't really help her become. I can see if the party put all the resources behind it and help propel her to become mayor, that might be a little, a different story. They may say, you know what, Democratic Party is actually doing something. Hell no. People know, even Democrats. I was talking to a senator about the show we did and how we talked about Stacey Abrams not wanting to become the DNC chair because that would be our death. And she said it herself. She was like, oh, hell no. And she's a state senator, and a loyal Democrat. And even she said that is basically her, sending her out to pasture because you don't want to get, compromised in this, putting yourself in a position of a party establishment that really don't care about us, right? But I don't think enough. Blacks always talk about the Democrats taking them for granted and wanting to do something else, and they never do it. They stay Democrats. Talk a good game, but it never gets done. And we stay loyal Democrats, and they're going to stay loyal Democrats regardless. And so, I think it's a good thing for LA. I think hopefully it's a good thing. I've always been cautiously optimistic when a Black person gets a seat of power, because in my opinion, if I have a white person serving my interests, you have to represent in the Black community because you need our vote. And so I want A to C done for the Black community, or else I'm going to call you out. Or Black people feel like they take us for granted because, I'm Black, so they're going to vote for me any damn way. And so, like Obama, name something that Black people got out of Obama. I love President Obama. But for 8 years, gay people got what they needed out of President Obama. Other people got what they needed out of President Obama. I ain't seen too much of what Black people got from President, and he was Black, right? So, I'm cautiously optimistic. I hope Black people, and I think with Karen, you'll see a little different story. But until we get to the Marion Barrys who understand that, you know what, I'm going to be mayor, and I'm going to make sure I make as many Black millionaires as possible. That's the kind of mindset we need from mayors like Karen Bass. And to your point, you're right. She had a safe congressional seat. She did not have to run for mayor and give that seat up. She chose to do that because she understood the power was in the seat of mayor. She was one of 435 members of Congress, didn't really have a leadership role, so it really didn't make sense. So let me, shift that power and do this. So, she gave up a safe seat to do this, and I applaud her for that. But again, cautiously optimistic on what that means for Black people of LA. Wow, there it is.
Hassan Giordano, always checking in on Thursday. We truly, truly appreciate you, bro. I love your analysis as always. We'll circle back with you, God willing, next Thursday as we see more situations.
We on Thanksgiving?
No. Oh, that's right.
I look.
Nah, bro. I know. No, bro. We ain't doing that, bro. I don't do that. Bro. Nah, bro.
Give thanks.
With your family, man. You get 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks to come back. There it is. Hassan, thank you, sir. Appreciate you, brother. Man, my God, Mr. Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano checking in. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's have a conversation and talking about the National Leagues of Cities City Summit that is happening right now in Las Vegas, and how mayors across the country are deciding to figure out ways that they can make their cities better. We check in with the mayor of Elm City, New Jersey, Mayor Tawanda Moore, to get her take on what's going to be happening at the summit. And more importantly, what do we expect from this new political space that we're in? Stay tuned for that conversation. Up next here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Just a great first hour with my man, Hassan Giordano, Mr. Politics himself. Make sure y'all check out the replay of the conversation on blackstarnetwork.com and definitely join us. But while you're on the app, on the website, make sure you show your support for us, as we are a funded media platform funded by the people. We want your support. We need your support. And that's why we have this platform, to have these culturally relevant conversations about what's happening in Black America and the impact of other things on Black America. So make sure you check us out at blackstarnetwork.com and show your support. All right, folks, I want to check in. We wanted to have a conversation about a city summit that is happening right now, called the National League of Cities Summit, which is a nonpartisan organization that works to strengthen local leadership, influence federal policy, and drive innovative solutions to city officials from across the country. Now, I said two. I want to correct myself. Our very special guest, Mayor Tawanda Moore. She is the mayor of Elm City, North Carolina, not New Jersey, and the summit is taking place in Kansas, not Vegas. Madam Mayor, I thank you so much for being on the show, and I apologize. I'm all over the country, Madam Mayor.
That's right.
Next thing you know, I'm going to be like, yes, President Tawanda Moore.
It's a busy day for you. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, Madam Mayor. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. It is a lot going on here at the summit. I'm trying to follow the itinerary. I cannot be in 10 places at one time, but I'm trying my best.
I appreciate you. First and foremost, you are mayor of the great city of Elm City, North Carolina. For those who may not be familiar with your home, tell us what part of North Carolina that is in.
Elm City is what I like to call the big little town of Elm City. A population of 1,300 people, is located in eastern North Carolina, about 35 miles east of the capital of North Carolina, and that's Raleigh.
Wow, 1,300 people.
Yes.
That's beautiful. I love small towns, Madam Mayor. I love small towns.
I'm glad. That means you're from a small rural town somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Well, the small town is called Baltimore, but you know, man.
Oh, be more careful. That's what they call it, right? Yes.
You come on the platform, you already throwing shades and jokes on my home. All right, I got you. Yes, ma'am. I know where you stand, sis. I got you.
I'm just a Southern girl. Yes. So I'm serving a small town community because that's what I'm familiar with.
That's awesome. That is awesome. First and foremost, Madam Mayor, when we talk about just some of the things that are happening in cities and smaller towns and across this country, you know, that's a different conversation. Yes, we are wrapped up in what's going on a national level. Of course, we're talking about presidents, we're talking about, you know, the governors and all of those things. But it's really, and this is why I love having these conversations with local city officials, it's really the small towns that's generating not just the money or the revenue, but generating or creating the culture, adding to the culture, taking away something from the culture, doing the innovative work of governing the people. Talk to us about what that means for you. You're coming to a conference like the National Leagues of Cities. You're learning, you're connecting, you're building and networking with other folks. But how important is that for a city official like yourself?
Oh my goodness! For a first time, politics is not definitely my background. It's not anything that I went to school for. I served as a commissioner one term in my area, which was for 2 years, and then someone convinced me to run for mayor. But for me, it means a lot to come out here at Kansas City for the first time, to be a part of this summit for education and information that I can bring back to a small little rural town that has experienced economic decline and they're economically distressed. So for me, the capacity in which I serve allows people to be able to reach out and touch me where they would not be able to on a national level. So it means a lot for me to be out here gaining as much information as I can so I can deliver it right to my neighbors, my constituents, front doorstep. So for me, it means a lot. I'm truly a servant at heart. And all the information that I'm gathering here, I'm able to knock on the doors and say, listen, this is what we have going on a national level, but I'm the one, I'm the liaison to be able to deliver it right to your front doorstep. So it means a lot for me.
So last year, for those who don't know, you were actually elected, and you are a trailblazer there in Elm City, being the first Black woman mayor of the great town of Elm City, North Carolina. First, a historic. Have you had a chance to really take in and to reflect on the historical significance of your leadership?
Actually, I haven't. I'm too busy serving to even shine the light on myself. So no, I don't take it in. People have to remind me that I am a mayor, and that I've actually made history in my neck of the woods. I roll up my sleeves and I just go to work. So no, it's not about me at all. So no, I have not had time to reflect on myself.
And the reason I'm asking that, or at least I wanted just to bring that up, is one, to say congratulations to you.
Thank you.
But then two, you're welcome. And then two, there's a lot of talk about black folks in politics and Black folks in leadership roles. And then, of course, the bigger conversation that we've been having is Black women in leadership, and kind of making a move to make some changes. Talk to us a little bit about the implication of that on you and how you go out and serve, the great people of Elm City.
Actually, it comes with its challenges. One as a female, and then one as an African American woman who is serving. I heard someone say, a young person said, it's a man's role. I don't look at it as a male or female. I just look at the role that I'm in as here to serve. It does come with its challenges. So there are a lot of times that I may have to put someone else locally in the forefront to be able to get some answers that they would not readily give African-American female, much like myself. So as long as I get the job done, I don't worry about the challenges. I was not born into leadership yesterday, but I was cultured into leadership the last 46 years of my life. And so it does come with major challenges, but the challenges, they pale in comparison to the strides that are being made during my tenure. So a lot of great things are happening. So I don't highlight the challenges, I highlight the assets. We have $11 million in water and sewer funds. We had White House Representative Mr. Vilsack, and also Michael Landrieu, who are actually in my town. And those who are in my area says we've never had that capacity for those who come down from the White House to visit your little town, which is now a big town. And so it says a lot. It says a lot for male or female, but people like to follow a moving locomotive. And when you mention my name, if anyone says my name, you know that there's movement behind what I do and all that I do. So for me, it's enough to overcome the small challenges. It's a small thing to a giant.
Absolutely, absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about some of these challenges. What are the big challenges facing Elm City?
Water and infrastructure, is my first term serving as mayor in this role. And you get local citizens who says, expect me to actually go under the ground and fix 150-year-old aged infrastructure. And I kindly just look at them and says, you know what? I'd like to know how you address that issue with the person who served before me. It's mighty funny that the challenge of serving as a Black woman, men are used to seeing this as a male-dominated field, but I'm the one who's supposed to fix the problem that has existed with an aged-old infrastructure in my local town.
So wait a minute, hold on, madam. You throw shade back on and you get real petty, be like, oh, so did you bring up this question to the last administration?
I do it kindly with a smile. I have I bear the reputation of being nice, nasty, and so there's no need to let that die now. So I just want to know if you expect me to fix your sewer pipes. I just want to know what the administration did before me, and did you hold them to the carpet? So I take it all in stride. It's a smile. At the end of the day, Tawanda Moore will get the job done.
Oh, absolutely. So infrastructure is big, and I know that's been a huge problem across the country, even in some of the larger cities and jurisdictions across the country. And as a result of that, when you're going to a space like the National League of Cities Summit, what have you been gaining? I know this is it kicks off on the 17th, which is today. So what has anything new or innovative come to your way about how to start working on that process to get that problem addressed?
Actually, I came to the National League Summit here, what I just termed as the 3 N's. I'm new, I'm nervous, and I am in need. And the very first stop I made this morning was on a tour, which was to host city mobile workshops. So I learned about the 18th and the Vine District. I learned a little history about what looks like a thriving city now, and just to hear the backdrop. I am a beyond the surface thinker. So I love to see what's behind the scenes, infrastructure out of all the terms. So listening to the history behind that mobile workshop that I was on this morning, Host City, learning about the 18th and Vine District, that brought hope to my town, as we are on the grassroots of what will end up being a very successful story, to hear how a town or a city such as North Kansas City has developed into where it is now through, infrastructure, sustainability, how you can take dilapidated buildings and actually build something successful based off of a strong foundation. And it sounds like, just in my case, in my neck of the woods, it takes a leader with a vision to move anything. And so I am gaining great strides, meeting great people here. I was at the table over lunch, and we were talking about community wealth building, all the things that I'm learning about with meeting different people from session to session here. I'm going to take all of that information and I'm already starting things. My notebook is out, iPad is open, and I'm ready to take this bull by the horns with all that I have learned and continue with expectation to learn here while I'm in Kansas City.
It's interesting, Madam Mayor, because I think some folks would not believe that a mayor or a group of mayors and city officials would go to a conference and remove their labels and titles and become students of politics, become students of public service. Because some folks, we do have it in our minds, like, you should already know this stuff, right? But So talk to us about coming into this role and position and being honest with yourself about where you are in your skill development, where you are in your knowledge of the system, and how that has impacted, how you go about making decisions for your city.
Oh, I love the term boots on the ground. And so at the local level here, when I use the term roll up my sleeve, boots on the ground, you have to be out there. You have to wake up destined to get out of your seat and into the streets to be able to serve people in the fullness thereof. So I can't do it being a couch potato. So being out in the streets, learning with boots on the ground to see what it is that my constituents need. There's no other way to do it than the best form of servant leadership is to meet you right where you are. One thing I gained tremendously about 3 weeks ago from White House representatives, Blandreau and Vilsack, is they said, Mayor, we feel you. We feel you. We used to be mayors just like you. And it was rewarding for them. And it's rewarding for me because I actually get to run into people that I serve in the grocery store, at my local car wash. And it means a lot to me to be able to serve in this capacity because it is truly indeed boots on the ground. I find pleasure and passion.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, because I'm a community organizer. I'm an activist. I come out of that space. I was doing, done that work for many, many years. And so, making that type of relationship, building those connections with folks is important, that people see that you're out working, that you're actually doing your part to make the city or to make that community better. So I definitely understand. I want to take some comments from our online culture crew, Madam Mayor, just to some folks who are watching you. And they, folks are like, wow, I did not know a Black woman is running a small town. Okay, we like this. Tara Smith checked in and says, Madam, there's the reputation of being nicety. Nicety. I'm going to say nicety. That's right. They always put the heaviest of challenges on people of color when they are in charge. And you're seeing that. You are seeing that, and you're seeing that from a professional point of view. But does that impact you personally? Do you take it personal?
I don't take it personally. I don't operate with thin skin. So in order to get to this level, and I consider myself nothing actually, but to be honest and transparent, to get to this level, you can't do it with thin skin. So I wear many hats. Most of my good friends tell me I make hard look easy. So you have to have a passion for serving people. You have to be an advocate at heart. You have to pursue with passion. You have to, you have to have this passion at its very core and able to lead at this magnitude. And I count myself nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right. So you keep yourself in the proper view to be able to serve.
Absolutely. I wear a lot of hats. So at any given morning, my citizens may see me trimming bushes because it needs to be done. I lead truly by example. I'll trim bushes.
Wait a minute. Hold up, Madam Mayor. Wait a minute. Do you take your own trash out too?
I lead. We have a very good group of public works department, and I lead by example. Actually, the secret is, I want it to be said, like, man, if your mayor is doing it, you guys, you kind of look bad. But no,
right.
I believe in, if I ask you to do something, I ought to be able to be willing to roll up my sleeves to help you, at least while I'm serving here on a local level.
Yeah. There's another conversation, and I'm sure that you've heard about service, the importance of service. We're in a country right now where a lot of people have high expectations, but very few people can step up and try to fulfill those expectations through service. What's your philosophy as a servant leader, as a public servant? What's your philosophy on service?
What just came to my mind is the greatest light will shine on anyone in the darkest place. Now that made me want to ponder, and you might get that by Saturday. The greatest light will always shine on those who lead from a dark place. You guys can get that over deep. You got a couple hours.
Wait, but hold on. Did you just drop the mic on me already?
I did. So what are you saying, Madam Mayor? There are a lot of people. Talk is very. I won't say cheap. I'll use another word for it. Talk is inexpensive, but action means everything. Talk is inexpensive, and action means everything. So there are a lot of people who speak from a high place, from a mountaintop experience. But if you want to know the true rudiments and character of a great leader, find out what they were doing before they bore a position, before they gained a title or position. Check the history, as you have done on me, even before you had a few minutes to Google my name, look me up. And in doing so, you will find that the true character of a person, it lies in the things and the life that they have lived prior to gaining a title or position.
Now you're dropping jewels. Now you're about to become mayor. Now you're about to become a motivational speaker, and you're going to become an author, because I'm hearing a book in you, and you might lead a church.
Actually, I do.
You do?
I do. I do. So maybe you're a prophet in another light. I am a pastor. I am for the last year and a half.
That's a beautiful thing.
So.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. So, and you know, when we think about this, and this is really the cool part about talking to folks that we don't normally hear from, you know, and that are in leadership roles like yourself. I think people need to have a different view of what a leader looks like, especially the next generation. But now, and I'm just saying this for adults, we have this view that in order to be a leader, you have to look a certain way. You have to have a certain amount of money. You need to dress a certain way and all of those things. Instead of just getting to the core, to the essence of a person, to understand that is what truly makes you a leader. You know, your character, your determination, your ability to build relationships with people. I mean, it is those things that matter the most. How do you, as a servant leader, as a city official, keep that at the forefront of your leadership, even in the midst of talk about everything from constituent services to you know, budgeting for Elm City?
Well, whenever I make it to the finish line of any given assignment, if I can look in the rearview mirror and see that a lot of bouquets have grown from the seeds that I have sown along the way, that, my friend, makes me a decent leader, because I don't want to bring credit to myself. But when I make it to the finish line of any assignment and I look in the rearview mirror and see the beautiful bouquets that have grown from the seeds that I've dropped and left behind, then I know that my working, my giving, my serving was not in vain, but it was fruitful. It was fruitful into a beautiful bouquet.
Woo! There it is, right there. Let me go to my culture crew, man. Madam Mayor, I don't appreciate you dropping more jewels than me during this conversation. So I'm.
But it's making you look good. It's making you look good at this hour.
Let's go to some comments from our crew. You don't like my music. You say smart Black women are where it's at. They are at the heart of intersectionality. Absolutely. I'm saying that right now, folks. That's why we're having our sister on to have this conversation. I love it. Appreciate you. You don't like my music. Zoe Bing, you said, I love this mayor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you also said, I see the love of a pastor written all over her. It's all over your face, apparently, Madam Mayor. People see something different in you. And DeAndre, my guy, you said, shout out to this queen on the panel. May she leave her mark in politics and better the people.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Humbly, I receive that. Thank you.
Yeah, because I mean, we just and you know, we're really in a time where there is a quote unquote, I would call it like a leadership deficit, where, you know, everybody wants to stand up in front of people, but no one wants to get down to serve people. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Can I share an experience? As I was traveling through the airport yesterday, there was an elderly lady, and apparently she needed to have been transported by airport transporters. So she was sitting by a restroom, and she asked a gentleman, he was young, I'll give him around the age of between 35 and 40. And apparently she had been left alone by the restroom, and she said, excuse me, sir, can I use your phone to be able to contact transportation, because I've been left here. And it saddened my heart that this young man proceeded to look in his phone, and he says, I don't know who to contact. And it burned me up, because males will find offense in the leadership of a woman. But when leadership is placed in some of the hands of some males, they drop the ball. And while my mom was using the restroom, I went out of my way to make sure that that lady could get the answer that she needed. And I said it in the presence of that that young man who was about 40 years of age, seemingly, while this elderly lady, about 70, she said, "Thank you, ma'am." I says, "No, it could have been my mom." When leadership starts to reflect that type of character where you can put down your smart device and your ears can be attuned to someone who's in need, who cannot help you get to the next platform, when someone is in need who cannot help you get the next notch in your belt, or when there's someone in need who does not represent part of your inner circle, who can help you make the next million, that is what leadership will look like nonpartisanly. That is an element of a leader. When you can see someone else in need in their time of despair, and you can be found going the extra mile for that person that doesn't look like you, that does not carry the same political agenda as you, that, my friend, is leadership. There is a Chinese proverb by Lai Sao who says, "When I let go of who I am, I become who I might be." There are a lot of us who need to let go of who we are so that we can truly become who we are destined to be.
Okay, so I'm gonna add therapist to your list of accomplishments.
Okay, let's go.
Because I feel I automatically I'm feeling like, all right, I need to have a session.
All right, talk to me. I'm here. Until you time out,
No.
I'm here.
You know what I'm saying? No, this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. And again, it is so refreshing to be able to hear a public servant taking those principles and those lessons to heart and sharing it with people, because we're seeing something very different. And I mean, on a fundamental level, right? Part of the big conversation that I have on this show, on this platform, is when we say the culture, we're looking at, how people behave, how the things, the traditions, the way that we go about interacting with one another, how it shapes our view of ourselves and our world and the world around us. And that we have to make an intentional choice to be able to say, you know what, this is not good, or this is not helpful, or this is good, this is helpful. We have to make an intentional choice, because we are the culture. As people, we make up the culture. It's not something outside of us. It comes from within us. And so one of the things that I've often, put out there as an idea is understanding human suffering, human connection, the importance of these things, in order for us to even have a conversation, from everything from citizenship to leadership to even servant leadership, that you have to have a certain heart and mind and spirit in order for you to move this country along. What I'm seeing in this country, and I'm sure you're seeing it too, because you're a very wise woman, I'm seeing that there is a breakdown of the human being, not just in politics, but across the board, Madam Mayor. What I'm seeing is that human beings are being diminished. The suffering of human beings is being accentuated and emphasized, or we're taking parts of people and that's being emphasized and accentuated. And so, and versus over the heart, over the things that are the most important parts of the human being. And I'm seeing it, and that mindset is being projected, and it's being it permeates through everything that we do, whether it's talking about public service, whether it's talking about the economic state of things, whether it's talking about how we teach and train our children in schools. We don't value other human beings. We're losing a sense of our humanity in this whole process.
All right. So the day and age in which we live in, society and the cares of this world cause our heart to beat at a much faster rate than what it was intended to. So I've never taken a stress test, which probably sounds like that they would put a little more activity on the heart to see how much it can withstand. So America and all the things that are going on in this nation, in this day and age, puts a lot of stress on the heart because it forces us to do things at such a rapid rate. And the world is just, it's just beating. The world is beating at so many beats per second. And the faster things go in this world, the more stress it puts on our heart. That people rarely take the time to inhale and exhale. And until we can slow our heart down enough to breathe, you're going to get a lot of things that will seemingly run amok and faster than what really our heart can take. So a lot of times it behooves us to take off political hats for a moment and spend time with the family, to take off political hats for a moment and take a walk through the rose garden, to take our political hats off for a moment in order just to breathe and to look out the front door and see if your neighbor has actually opened up the door in the last 3 days, because they could be in there sick. So there is so much that is placed on our agendas today that we don't take time out to do the common things, what used to be common, because we're running at a rat race. And it all really is going to amount to what? There should be 8 hours of rest, 8 hours of working, and 8 hours of servitude. The world has designed us with all of the things that it places on us to give 20 hours of work, 1 hour of sleep, and 0.0 hours of servitude. Someone take the 24 hours within a day, redesign it the way that it should have been intended for, so that we can all take a moment to breathe. Can't hear you.
I said, yeah, Madam Mayor, I'm going to need to book a session.
No problem. Have your people contact my people, and my line is very direct. So. Remember, I'm hands-on.
Like, who is your therapist? When people ask me, who's your therapist? Oh, the mayor of Elm City, North Carolina.
Mayor of Elm City, absolutely. But seriously, call me anytime you need me. It's just that easy. I'm that simple. So,
no, I think I appreciate it. You gotta hop off.
It's funny. I told her I was so nervous, and that I hope this was only going to be 2 minutes, because I can't talk longer than 2 minutes. Well,
really?
Yeah, I'm here. I really am a shy introvert, believe it or not.
Wow.
I am.
Well, because let me just say, I think in a lot of my watchers, they're talking about your energy. My guy, you don't like my music. Wow. He's saying just listening to your voice brings a certain level of zen. Like, everybody is in this space of trying to, I think a lot of people are just like, yeah, she a pastor. Yeah, we can see it. She's a pastor, because there's a calmness to your energy, to your spirit. You know what I mean? It's like let's slow the conversation down. And I don't mind having these conversations.
Libra. I like a balance.
There it is. There it is too, right?
I'm a Libra, and so I'm gonna put this out there. My birthday is 10/10, and my friends will tell you. My motto is 10/10. Everything attached to me wins. You win today, my friend. You win.
That's the end of the conversation. I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to mess this up no more. I'm not messing this up. I need all the good vibes coming my way. Madam Man, you.
Absolutely.
That's the end of the conversation. First and foremost, with all due seriousness, I want to thank you for your time, because I could. You're talking about you not. I could talk all day. I'm that guy. Like, we can vibe all day. But I know people are like, man, you gonna be on with the man for the whole. No, we're gonna follow up. So first, I want to say thank you, because I think it's important for us to have a conversation, especially for people to hear and see the voices like yourself of a sister who is doing public service work, but it's more than just public service. It's a calling. It's a real calling,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Even the work that I do on this platform, I don't, yes, I work in the media, but at the same time, I truly believe it's my calling to be able to, have these conversations, provide a platform and connect people and to understand stories and ideas and share all of those things. So it's a calling. And I think that's the part of the culture that is often diminished, that we often kind of overlook, is that when you're called to do something, you should just go ahead and do it, because that's a divine exchange that's happening, right?
That's it.
So we're not just operating from a space of I need the money, or I need the status, or this is good for my business, or anything like that. It comes from a space of, how do I serve myself and my people better? Because we're all gifted with knowledge, but knowledge has a couple of different purposes. One, knowledge helps to edify oneself, but then two, knowledge is supposed to be shared so that way you can help build up other people as well, serve other people. So there's so much here. There's so much in the exchange that we don't want to downplay the importance of having character, having an awareness of your own divine abilities to do some work. I mean, there's a lot at play here. So I just wanted to say thank you. All I have to say is thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. How do people keep up with the work that you're doing? Please put out your social media, Madam Mayor, any information that you think that would be relevant for folks to show their support for the work that you're doing.
Well, you can look me up on Facebook under Mayor Moore. That's it. Mayor Moore.
That's it.
No
Mayor Moore.
Mayor Moore. That's it. No other channels, no other avenues right now. Mayor Moore on Facebook.
On Facebook, Mayor Moore. All right, you got one more follower coming.
Okay, you got it. I look forward to adding you. Well, it's a public page, so keep on in the room. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Mayor, I appreciate you so much. And, I know that the summit is going to be, a power-packed, next few days. You're going to learn a lot. And, you're always welcome to come back here on the show. If you want to share, talk about whether it's the summit or whether it's any other project or any other things that you think is pertinent for our people in this day and time, you are certainly more than welcome to share this space with us. And we thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too. You too. Mayor Tawana Moore, folks, as she is the mayor of Elm City, North Carolina. Folks, we got to take a quick pause as we come forward. A final conversation just to bring you an update on a major case. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We got a few moments left, but I wanted to bring you up to speed on a story and a case that we all are aware of. But before I do, I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that the man really lifted my spirits. Like, yo, she really got me thinking about some stuff over here, right? And I'm just like, wow. Normally, we don't hear that type of talk coming from an elected official. I'm going to be honest with you, right? They often is like devoid of certain things, but she really lifted my spirit, man. That's the beauty of these small towns, and they produce these giants. If you're from a small town, big shout out from you. If you're from a small town, I don't care where part of the country, but if you're from a small town, you were infused with certain values, and it brought you to a higher understanding of yourself and a higher level of the human being. That's a beautiful thing, man. That is such a beautiful thing. And for me, folks, to be very honest, like, I wish we did more of that. I wish that there was that when you become mayor, when you become a senator, when you get into any elected office, that you got to take certain courses like ethics course, or, a course on morality and values, or a course on, humanitarianism, all of these things, understanding the human being, understanding human suffering, understanding the importance of the heart and character. You know what I mean? Like, all of these things, taking a course in all of these things, so you can learn how to do your job better. Because just meeting the standard requirements is one thing, but to have the heart to do the job is another thing. To have the mind, the spirit to do the job is another thing. So, that conversation, I try to keep it about, making sure that we talk about what's happening at the summit and everything. But sometimes organically, you can go into another space in a discussion. And I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I ain't want to stop the flow. I just didn't want to stop the flow. It felt too good. It felt too good. So I just said, you know what? We're gonna let this baby rock out and see where it takes us, right? But for me, it shows what's missing. And I think you don't like my music, my guy. You told me, you said that there's so much anger and vitriol. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I can't stay angry for too long anymore. Like this, it doesn't fit my energy right now. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about a lot of things that are going wrong in this community, in this country, and we certainly we would be justified in being angry about some of the things. But I'm at a place where I might be angry for a moment, but I can't hold on to that anger for days in and days out. Like, life is too short, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, those things that make you angry today and tomorrow and the day after, most of the time they're gonna still be here even when you're gone. You know what I'm saying? And at this point in my life, like we're trying to do some different things, but the different things aren't different policies. The different things aren't, just systems oriented. The different things is mindset. The different thing is understanding human beings. The different things are, seeing yourself from a different perspective and understanding yourself from a different perspective. So it's just such an eye-opening experience when you can talk to somebody. And many of you talk to each other like this in the chat, which I truly, I'm watching and I'm reading all the comments, which is important that we have these parts of these conversations as well, because we don't have them en masse. We have these talks within our homes, sometimes in our community, but en masse where you can really connect with other people from around the country, people that you may have never seen. Some of us, we've never seen each other. We may never physically cross paths with one another, and we're galvanized and we're coming together from all across this country in a single space, and we're having these important conversations. And then we have these dialogues around some of these ideas. It's a very powerful thing. I want Culture Crew, I want y'all to understand that when we engage like this, this is not some small thing. This is a very powerful medium. There's a very powerful exchange. It's so powerful, it's almost divine. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's almost divine, or it is divine rather, because we are able to connect in a way, even with the barriers of technology, not being able to see each other, to feel each other's energy. We're able to connect with each other and then still have these experiences. When we hear people talking, we can all kind of connect in real time and feel the energy, the emotion, and everything together. So I'm just wanted to share that. I just wanted to share that because that's part of the culture. If we want to get a different culture, then we're going to have to try some different things. We're going to have to be a little bit more out of the box in how we engage with one another. So big shout out to Mayor Tawanda Moore of Elm City, North Carolina, for bringing that word. Tiana, you said being angry just take too much energy. Yeah, sis, I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you. Yeah, I'm feeling you. Karen, my sister, you said right, Farajii, anger is unhealthy. It's best to move on and never go to bed angry. Yup, that's right. MKB, you said that's right. Can't let them steal your joy, Farajii. No, I don't. Look, when I feel certain things, I bring it to y'all. And then after we dialogue about it, I let it go. You know what I'm saying? I let it go. I'm like, all right, well, I put that out on the show today. I move on. You know what I'm saying? I just move on. So these are, and that's the beauty of having conversations like that, because there's, people, y'all have been saying like therapy sessions and everything. Like this is therapeutic, man. Having great dialogues, talking about noble ideas, talking about principles, talking about lessons in life, like talking about our experiences and the way we do it. It's therapeutic, man. We need a space for it. We need a space for it. So again, I thank y'all for holding space with me as we have these conversations, because you make it so worthwhile, so worthwhile. All right, look, final discussion. I just really wanted to bring up to speed the situation that I saw, and I thought that it would be important for us to mention. Y'all know Brianna Taylor. That was our sister who was gunned down in Louisville, Kentucky, by police when the police did that no-knock warrant, busted into her residence, into her home where she was with her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. And with no notification what's going on or no announcement, started the shooting and ended up killing our sister unjustifiably. Of course, that case became a case of national attention. And so as a result of that, her boyfriend, who was in the home with her, y'all remember that when they initially burst into the home, her boyfriend, who is a registered gun owner, he began to go into self-defense mode, and he shot one of the police officers in the leg. Well, he had filed 2 lawsuits against the city of Louisville, Kentucky. And as a result of that, he's already been awarded a $2 million settlement for the first lawsuit. Take a look at this, folks. I want to throw this. Take a look. Louisville to pay $2 million to Kenneth Walker, Brianna Taylor's boyfriend. Now, he's been a part of the protests. He's been a part of the conversations around, aggressive policing. He's been a part of the conversations about what happened on that night, of course, to our sister, Brianna Taylor. May she rest in peace and power. But he won a $2 million settlement. And the officers involved in the shooting, according to the reports, were released from the settlement without requirement to pay. And he's still awaiting a decision in a second lawsuit that he filed. So this is a situation that is still ongoing, but as of right now, he's already gotten $2 million. He's already gotten $2 million. So it's, I don't know if justice is going to be served because our sister has transitioned as a result of these actions by the police. But I know that at the end of the day, folks, that, we have to try to figure out, try to seek something to get something. And I know the money conversation is a little sensitive for me personally, just because I don't think that there is a price tag on anyone's life, but there is I guess in the courts system, someone has to be made responsible and held accountable for this situation. So I'm happy that Kenneth Walker is able to get something, because it had to be traumatic to watch his love getting gunned down by the people who are supposed to protect and serve us. And of course, as a result of him shooting a police officer, he gets involved in the situation with them. So the bad part is that they are not required to pay. So the city of Louisville got to pick up the tab on this situation. So it's just a very, very sad situation, but he gets something. He gets something out of the deal. And we have to make sure that we keep the family of Brianna Taylor in prayer. We got to make sure we keep the family of Kenneth Walker and his family in prayer, because this will continue to be more of a problem. So big shout out to Kenneth Walker, to the family, and to the family of Brianna Taylor. All right. So just wanted to bring you up to speed on that. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me in today's show. I thank each and every one of you. I thank Madam Mayor Tawanda Moore. I thank my man Hassan Giordano. Make sure y'all show y'all support. If you've been enjoying this conversation and enjoying the show today, and more importantly, you love the culture and the work that we are doing to change the conversations about a host of things, make sure y'all log on to the website, blackstarnetwork.com. Support us. We need your support, financial support, sharing the content, letting people know that a Black-owned digital media institution has been formed. We are rocking and rolling. We have dynamic programs on this show. We have a ton of specials We have a number of a lot of content about from around the country of various activities related to community service and activism and so much more. So just go to blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you also follow us on all of our socials at Black Star Network on IG and Twitter. And we would love to continue to build and connect with you. Also, make sure y'all go to my IG and Twitter. You can find me at The Real Farajii on IG and Farajii on Twitter. I would love, love, love to connect with you and build with you. Man, did y'all see, if you follow me on Twitter, I can kind of get a little petty. Some people definitely be trying to, to get some rise out of me. And it's like, no, you're not going to get this. Especially this one dude. Want to talk around me to try to talk to Brother Roland. Like, bro, tag Brother Roland in your stuff. Don't tag me. Please. Please, you want to talk to Roland Martin? Here's what I found out about Roland Martin very quickly. Roland Martin will not back down from any type of Twitter issue. You got a problem with him? Tag him. Tell him. Just be a man about it. Like Tony Braxton said. Just be a man about it. Just be a woman about it. Don't come to me. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you got a problem with me, it's one thing. But man, talk to Roland. Yeah, he'll respond. And better get ready for that response. But he will respond. He will respond. But definitely check me out. And let's continue to build the community, folks. Let's continue to build a community here that we've started. This great community that we call our online culture crew. This great community that supports Black Star Network is absolutely beautiful. So thank you. Thank you for your support. Speaking of the big guy, make sure y'all stick around 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Roland Martin Unfiltered is coming at you. It's Thursday night and so much more. So make sure y'all stick around for those conversations. And I want to thank my crew. I want to thank King Keenan, Ariel, my producer Joel, and my wonderful control room for making today's show so dope. And I want to thank you again for being a part of the conversation. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Have a great afternoon and evening and talk to you tomorrow. Peace.